I never thought I'd end up here, stuck in a place where every dollar feels like it's slipping through my fingers faster than I can catch it. It's not just about money, really. It's about the endless decisions, the constant anxiety, the way this pressure reshapes how I see myself and my future. I'm 26, juggling a full-time job and a side hustle, and yet, somehow, I'm still barely managing. The economic environment feels like a storm that I can't escape: rising rent, groceries that get more expensive every week, utilities that eat up my paycheck, and wages that barely move. I used to think if I worked hard, kept my head down, and budgeted well, I could get ahead. But now it feels like the system itself is rigged, with expenses accelerating faster than my income, and no clear way out. Every month is a game of survival. When the rent gets raised, I rearrange everything else to make room for that. But then the electricity bill spikes, and I'm forced to decide between keeping the heat on or paying off my credit card minimum. Sometimes I skip meals or choose cheaper, less nutritious food just to save a few dollars. There are nights I lie awake wondering if I can afford to refill my prescription or if I should just try to tough it out. It's exhausting, physically and mentally. I can't remember the last time I felt truly relaxed. Anxiety clings to me, a constant hum beneath the surface. It's there when I check my bank account, when I hear a strange noise in my car, or when I open the mailbox. There's this gnawing fear that one unexpected expense, a medical bill, a broken appliance, a car repair, could spiral me into debt I might never recover from. The pressure makes it hard to focus, to find joy in anything. Sometimes I feel like I'm barely holding myself together. Making decisions has become this calculated, often painful process. Can I afford to buy a bus pass, or should I try to save by walking everywhere, even when it's freezing? Do I say no to a friend's birthday dinner, knowing I can't spare the money, or do I go and stress about it later? When the landlord asks for a security deposit for a new apartment, I have to tell myself no, even though I'm desperate to move somewhere more affordable, safer, less crowded. The cost of living keeps climbing, and every choice feels like a compromise. Dreams I once had feel like distant memories now. I wanted to finish my degree, start my own business, maybe even save enough for a small apartment or a car. I pictured traveling, experiencing new places, meeting new people. Instead, I postpone everything. School is out of reach because I can't afford to quit my job or take on more debt. Starting a business feels impossible when I'm living paycheck to paycheck. The idea of travel feels like a luxury that doesn't exist for someone in my shoes. Coping isn't easy. I try to focus on small wins, making it through the week without falling behind, paying off a little bit of debt, finding a good deal at the store. I hold on to moments of connection with friends and family, even if those moments are brief or over the phone. Sometimes, I write in a journal to get the weight off my chest, or I go for a long walk to clear my mind. But mostly, I'm tired of pretending everything is okay, tired of feeling like I'm failing because the system won't let me win. It's hard to explain this feeling of being trapped. Like you're running on a treadmill that's speeding up, and no matter how fast you run, you don't move forward. It's not just about money, it's about hope slipping away, about the dreams you tuck away so you don't have to feel that ache every day. I'm not just fighting my own circumstances, I'm fighting a system where wages don't keep up with living costs, where safety nets are thin or non-existent, and where people like me are often invisible. But despite everything, I still hold on to hope. It's fragile, sometimes barely there, but it's what keeps me going. I want to believe that this isn't the end, that maybe one day the math will work out, that I can build a life where money doesn't feel like a constant threat, where I can chase the dreams I postponed. For now, I'll keep navigating the impossible balancing act, hoping that someday the scales will tip in my favor. If you're out there feeling the same, know you're not alone. This struggle is real, and it's okay to be vulnerable about it. We're all trying to find a way through, one day at a time. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I never imagined adulthood would feel this way, like I'm constantly treading water in a sea that's getting rougher every day. The bills keep piling up, the prices climb faster than my paycheck, and I'm just trying to stay afloat. I'm 27 now, juggling 2 jobs, barely making enough to cover rent and groceries, and every choice I make feels like a balancing act on a wire that's fraying under my feet. When I was younger, I had plans. Big ones. I dreamed about traveling, buying a home, even starting a family someday. I thought if I worked hard, those dreams would come true. But now, the reality hits me like a cold wave. Expenses keep rising: rent, utilities, food, transportation, and my income feels stuck in place. No matter how many hours I work, I'm always behind. Each day begins with a sinking feeling. I open my phone to check my bank account, and there's this pit in my stomach. Will I have enough to cover the rent this month? Can I afford the gas for the car? Should I skip buying groceries and eat from what little I have left at home? These questions have become routine, and it's exhausting. I'm constantly calculating, recalculating, and cutting corners wherever I can. The economic environment makes everything worse. Inflation is like a shadow looming over every decision. The paycheck I received today buys less than it did last year, and the cost of living keeps going up. It's a system that feels designed to keep people like me trapped, always struggling to catch up but never quite getting ahead. I've never felt so powerless. I'm tired, not just physically, but emotionally. Stress has become my constant companion. It's hard to explain the weight of living with money worries every day. There's anxiety about losing a job, about unexpected expenses, about falling behind on bills. Sometimes, the stress feels like it's crushing my spirit, making it hard to see a way out. I've learned to cope by tightening my belt as much as possible. I meal prep, shop sales obsessively, and avoid any unnecessary spending. I pick up side gigs, sometimes late into the night, to make ends meet. Social outings have become rare luxuries because every dollar matters. But even with all this, I still feel like I'm barely holding on. There are days when I feel isolated. Friends talk about their vacations, new gadgets, or nights out, and I smile, but inside, I feel like I'm living in a different world. It's hard not to compare and feel like I'm missing out. Social media makes it worse, highlighting what I can't afford and reminding me of dreams I've had to shelve indefinitely. The hardest part is postponing dreams that once gave me hope. I had planned to save for a down payment on a home, but that seems impossible now. Traveling to see the world or even just visiting family far away feels like a distant fantasy. I've put off therapy appointments and other self-care because I can't justify the cost. Even starting a family someday feels overwhelming when I can barely cover today's expenses. Despite it all, I hold on to small flickers of hope. I remind myself that this phase isn't forever. That maybe, someday, the economy will shift, or I'll find a better paying job, or the burdens will ease. I cling to the idea of a better future, even if it feels out of reach right now. Sharing this story feels vulnerable, but I want people to understand what ongoing financial pressure really feels like. It's not just about numbers or budgets, it's about the emotional toll, the dreams deferred, and the quiet struggles behind closed doors. I'm just one person, but I know I'm not alone. So, I keep moving forward, day by day, hoping that one day I'll step out of this suffocating cycle and into a life where my dreams don't have to wait. I never thought I'd be writing about money like this, like it's some kind of shadow that follows me everywhere I go, never letting me breathe. But here I am, a young adult caught in this endless tug-of-war between what I earn and what I owe, between what I want and what I can afford. The truth is, it feels like I'm trapped in a system that's rigged against me. Expenses climb higher every month, inching ahead of my paycheck, and no matter how hard I try, I'm always playing catch-up. I wake up each morning with a knot in my stomach, already dreading the day's small financial battles. Should I spend on that bus ticket or try to walk and save the few dollars? Can I afford to buy groceries, or do I need to skip a meal to pay this month's utility bill? These aren't questions I ever imagined asking myself in my 20s. But here they are, daily reminders that my money is a constant source of stress, never quite enough to cover the basics, let alone anything extra. Work is exhausting, not just physically, but emotionally. I have a job that pays just enough to cover rent and utilities, with maybe a little left over if I'm careful. But even then, careful isn't always enough. There's the unexpected car repair that wipes out my savings, the medical bill from a minor illness that snowballs into debt, or the rent hike that comes with no warning but huge consequences. These hits feel like punches to my gut, dragging me down further every time. What's worse is how the economic environment around me is always changing, never in my favor. Prices rise relentlessly: food, gas, rent. But my paycheck? It's stagnant, almost as if the world expects me to stretch the same small amount of money thinner and thinner, like some kind of financial yoga. Meanwhile, I watch friends move ahead, buying homes or traveling, and I'm stuck wondering if that's ever going to be me. Some days, I feel so small in the face of it all, like my dreams are slipping through my fingers. I used to dream about going back to school, about starting a creative project or traveling to see places beyond my city's limits. Now those dreams seem like luxuries I can't afford, not just in dollars, but in time and energy. When every day is a fight to pay bills, how do you justify spending money on something that doesn't feel immediately necessary? I tell myself I'll come back to those dreams someday, but deep down I'm afraid that someday might never come. The emotional toll is heavy. There are nights when I lie awake, heart racing, thinking about all the what-ifs and if-onlys. I feel trapped in this cycle, working hard, earning barely enough, and watching my expenses pile up. It's exhausting and lonely, even when I'm surrounded by people who don't really understand how this kind of financial pressure weighs on you. I hide it because I don't want pity or judgment, but inside, it's like carrying a weight that never lifts. Coping with all this has become a skill I never wanted to learn. I budget obsessively, cutting corners wherever I can, switching to cheaper groceries, avoiding any unnecessary purchases, turning off lights, heating the apartment only in one room. I rely on small things that bring comfort, listening to music, writing in a journal, calling a friend who gets it. Sometimes I daydream, letting my mind wander to a future where money isn't the master of my life. But those moments are fleeting. Reality always pulls me back. I'm reminded that this isn't just a personal problem, it's a systemic one. The cost of living is rising faster than wages, and the safety nets that should catch people like me feel threadbare or out of reach. It's hard not to feel angry, or hopeless, or both. Still, there's a stubborn flicker of hope somewhere inside me. It's fragile, but it's there. I imagine a day when I don't have to count every penny, when I can say yes to opportunities instead of no. I dream of stability, of feeling secure enough to plan for the future instead of just surviving month to month. Maybe that day will come when the economy changes or when I find a better job, or even if I learn to live in a way that's different from the constant hustle. For now, I'm here, living this complicated, difficult reality. It's not glamorous, and it's not easy, but it's real. I'm learning to be honest with myself about what I'm going through, to acknowledge the fear and frustration without letting it define me. This is my story, a story of struggle and resilience, and maybe, just maybe, a story that will someday lead me to something better. Because even when it feels like the system is holding me down, I haven't stopped hoping that I can rise above it. I never thought I'd find myself in this kind of squeeze, like every day is a slow, relentless drip of pressure that wears down everything I thought I had planned. It's like trying to swim upstream, but the river just keeps getting wider and the current stronger, no matter how hard I kick. I'm 27 now. Just a few years out of college, full of hope and plans. I imagined a steady climb, getting a good job, paying off my student loans, maybe moving into a nice apartment, saving up for a trip or two. But reality hit fast and hard. The job market is brutal, and even when I landed my current position, the pay was just barely enough to cover the essentials. Rent, utilities, groceries, the little things that stack up and swallow every paycheck before I even have a chance to breathe. The cost of living feels like a beast that's always one step ahead. Every month, prices creep up, rent goes up, groceries cost more, the subway fare increases, and my income? It stays the same, or at best, inches forward by the smallest margin. I'm trapped in this cycle where expenses balloon faster than my ability to earn. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much water I pour in, it never fills up. I keep a spreadsheet to track every dollar because I have to. I've become hyper-aware of how I spend, when I spend, and even what I spend on. A cup of coffee that used to feel like a small luxury now feels like a risky indulgence. I avoid going out with friends because splitting a meal or buying a drink is a hit I just can't justify. Sometimes I'm so consumed with counting pennies that I miss out on the simple joys that once made life feel lighter. There's this constant, gnawing anxiety. Not the kind that wakes you up in the middle of the night with a sudden panic, but a low hum of worry that never really fades. It's the quiet voice reminding me that the next bill is coming, that something unexpected, like a broken phone or a doctor's visit, could wreck my budget entirely. That I'm one paycheck away from falling behind, or worse, from losing the little stability I've built. Some days I feel like I'm just surviving, not living. Like I'm on autopilot, pushing through each day without room to think beyond the immediate. It's exhausting in a way that's hard to explain, like running on fumes, knowing that the gas station ahead is closed. I remember when I used to dream bigger. I wanted to travel, to see new places, meet new people. I thought about buying a home one day, building a future that felt solid and secure. I imagined being able to help my family more, maybe even saving enough to start something on my own. But those dreams have been shelved, quietly tucked away because the present demands all my attention and resources. Sometimes, I catch myself wondering if I'm doing something wrong. If there's some secret I haven't figured out about budgeting or career advancement. I scroll through social media and see peers posting about promotions, travels, new homes, and I wonder how their lives seem so different. It's hard not to feel left behind, like I'm stuck in this limbo where growth feels impossible. Coping has become a skill I've had to learn. I focus on the small victories, making it through a month without overdrawing my account, finding a deal on groceries, finally paying off a credit card. I've leaned more into frugality, learned to cook at home instead of eating out, to find joy in free or low-cost activities. I try to remind myself that this isn't forever, even though it often feels permanent. Talking about money is hard. There's shame wrapped up in this struggle, the feeling that I should have it all figured out by now, that I'm not measuring up. But opening up to a few close friends has helped. It's comforting to know I'm not alone in feeling this way, that many of us are facing the same uphill battle. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I allow myself to hope. I hope that this pressure will ease someday, that a raise or a new opportunity will come. That maybe, just maybe, the cost of living will stabilize, or I'll find a way to grow my income in a meaningful way. I hold on to the belief that my worth isn't defined by my bank balance, and that despite the hardships, there's a future waiting that's better than this. It's a daily struggle, yes. But I keep going. Because giving up isn't an option, not really. There's too much at stake, my dignity, my dreams, my sense of self. And maybe, with time, I'll find a way to break free from this system that feels like it's designed to keep me locked in place. Until then, I keep swimming against the current, hoping that the tide will turn. Some days, it feels like I'm underwater, like I'm desperately gasping for air, but no matter how hard I try, the surface just keeps slipping further away. I'm 27 now, working 2 jobs, and the weight of money never really leaves me. It's there in the background, a constant pressure I can't shake, shaping every choice I make and stealing the freedom I once imagined I'd have as a grown-up. I graduated from college with hope and a little bit of pride. I thought I was stepping into a world where hard work paid off, where I could build something stable. But the reality hit like a wave. Rent keeps climbing faster than my paycheck, groceries seem to cost more every week, and bills pile up without mercy. The cost of living grows like a monster that's always hungry, while my income stays stubbornly the same. It's exhausting to live in this system where your expenses balloon but your salary barely budges. I look at my bank account each month and try to stretch every dollar like it's elastic. The little wins, finding a cheaper grocery brand, skipping that takeout night, add up, but it never feels like enough. The rent is the biggest burden. It's this huge, immovable number that takes half my income before I even start thinking about food or transportation. Sometimes I wonder if it's even worth it to keep pushing myself so hard when I'm still stuck in this endless cycle of paycheck to paycheck. My emotional well-being has taken a hit I didn't expect. I thought I was prepared for the struggles of adult life, but the constant financial stress wears me down. I find myself on edge, anxious over things I used to take for granted, like whether I can afford a doctor's visit or if my car will break down and leave me stranded. Sleep doesn't come easy when your mind is spinning with worries about money, and that exhaustion makes it harder to stay positive or motivated. The system feels like a trap. I'm working hard, but I'm barely moving forward. Every time I make a little progress, a new expense pops up, a surprise medical bill, a rent hike, or a broken appliance, and pushes me back down. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up, but you can't get anywhere. The harder I try, the more trapped I feel. This financial pressure forces me to make choices I never imagined I'd have to face. I put off continuing my education, even though I know it could open doors, simply because I can't afford the tuition or the lost income from cutting back on work. I've delayed saving for retirement, vacations, or even emergencies. The idea of buying a home feels like a distant fantasy, one that people talk about but seems impossible to reach. I've had to say no to social invitations, hobbies, and even some relationships because I just can't afford them. It's lonely sometimes, this feeling that life is on hold. Coping is a daily battle. I try to find small pockets of joy where I can, a walk in the park, cooking a meal from scratch, chatting with friends who understand. I journal my frustrations, try to meditate, and hold on to the hope that things will change. Sometimes, I feel ashamed to admit how much this weighs on me, but being honest with myself has helped me realize I'm not alone in this struggle. Despite everything, I haven't lost my dreams completely. I still want stability, a home of my own, a career that feels fulfilling, and the freedom to breathe without counting every cent. But for now, those dreams are on pause, waiting for a moment when the math works out better, when the world feels less like a trap and more like a place of possibility. If you're reading this and feel the same way, overwhelmed, trapped, scared, know that your feelings are valid. We're living through an economic storm that's bigger than any one of us. But holding on to hope, sharing our stories, and supporting each other might be the first steps toward finding a way out. It's hard to explain the exact moment I started feeling trapped, but I know it wasn't overnight. It was a slow, relentless squeeze, like watching a door close inch by inch until there was barely any space left to breathe. At 26, I'm supposed to be building a life, dreaming big, feeling like the future is mine to shape. But instead, I'm stuck in a cycle where every expense grows faster than my income, and the weight of that reality crushes my spirit bit by bit. When I got my first real job after college, I felt hopeful. The salary wasn't huge, but I thought with careful budgeting and a little luck, I'd be able to climb the ladder, save some money, maybe even start putting away for a house one day. But then came the rent hikes that didn't match my modest raises. Utilities, groceries, transportation costs, everything crept upward relentlessly. It's like I'm on a treadmill that speeds up without warning, and no matter how fast I run, I'm stuck in the same spot. Most days, I wake up with a low-level anxiety I can't shake. It starts when I check my bank account first thing, the number barely enough to cover the bills coming due. That pit in my stomach settles in and stays all day. I make my coffee at home instead of going to the cafe down the street. I skip lunches out with friends or decline invitations to events I can't afford. I buy the cheapest groceries, even when I crave fresh produce or something more nutritious. I sometimes wonder how long I can keep stretching every dollar until it snaps. I'm exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. The stress of financial pressure isn't just about money, it's about what money means in the world we live in. It's about security, dignity, freedom. When you can't afford to plan beyond next month, every little emergency feels like a catastrophe. A car repair, a medical bill, or even a necessary new pair of shoes can send me spiraling into panic. The system feels rigged against people like me. The cost of living rises, yet wages lag behind. benefits are scarce. Opportunities for advancement often require unpaid internships, extra education I can't afford, or connections I don't have. It feels like I'm running a race with no finish line, constantly weighed down by things out of my control. I try to cope in whatever ways I can. I track every expense, I clip coupons, I pick up side gigs when I can, even if they leave me exhausted. I've gotten creative, repairing clothes instead of buying new ones, borrowing books from the library, cooking meals from scratch. I've learned to say no to social gatherings because even a small night out means spending money I don't really have. And yet, despite all this effort, the gap between what I earn and what I owe just keeps growing. Some days, the loneliness hits hardest. Watching friends post about vacations, new cars, or moving into their first homes feels like a punch to the gut. I'm happy for them, truly, but it also reminds me of what I've had to put on hold. The dreams I once nurtured, traveling the world, buying my own place, even starting a family, feel like distant, almost impossible luxuries now. I tell myself it's just temporary, that things will get better, but sometimes it's hard to believe. The emotional toll is heavy. Financial strain seeps into every part of life, self-worth, relationships, even mental health. I worry about becoming the person I never wanted to be, someone bitter, resigned, or defined by my struggles. But I also try to remind myself of my resilience. I'm still here, still fighting, still hoping for change. I don't have a grand solution, just this raw truth. Living paycheck to paycheck in today's economy feels like being caught in a trap. But I hold on to the small sparks, moments of joy, brief respite, the support of loved ones. I dream of a day when money isn't a barrier to living fully, when I can finally breathe without the constant pressure. Until then, I keep going. Day by day, step by step. Because hope, even fragile, is worth holding on to. I wake up every morning to the sound of my alarm, but it feels heavier than just the noise. It's the weight of another day under the pressure of bills, debts, and an economy that seems designed to squeeze me dry. I'm 26 now, and every day I feel like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up while my legs just can't keep pace. The cost of living is climbing faster than my paycheck ever will, and no matter how many hours I put in, it's never enough. I remember when I first got my job after college. The excitement of independence, of finally earning my own money, felt so promising. I had plans, big ones. I wanted to travel, to save for a cozy apartment of my own, maybe even start investing. But those dreams started to blur the moment I sat down with my monthly budget. Rent took half my income. Utilities, groceries, phone bills, everything seemed to pile on. Then there was the student loan looming in the background, a constant reminder of choices made for a future that feels so uncertain now. It's frustrating, this feeling of being stuck in a system where everything just keeps moving out of reach. Gas prices go up, rent hikes again, and somehow, I'm expected to absorb it all without complaint. My income is barely inching up, if at all, and that gap between what I earn and what I need just widens like an endless canyon. I've learned to live on the bare minimum. Buying a coffee out? Forget it. Eating out? That's a luxury I can't afford anymore. Social outings have shrunk to free or nearly free activities, and even then, I sometimes hesitate because every dollar counts. The emotional toll isn't just about money, it's about the sense of powerlessness that comes with it. I sometimes lie awake at night wondering if I'm failing. If I'm just not smart or hardworking enough to break out of this loop. Anxiety creeps in. What if something unexpected happens? A medical bill, car trouble, a surprise expense. Those thoughts haunt me because there's no safety net. I'm walking a financial tightrope with no balance pole. But I try to cope. I've become almost obsessive with tracking every penny, using budgeting apps, cutting out anything that isn't absolutely necessary. I tell myself I'm building resilience, learning discipline, but honestly, it feels like just survival. Some nights, I scroll through social media and see friends posting about new apartments, weekend trips, nice dinners, and it's hard not to feel a sting of jealousy or sadness. I know everyone's story is different, but it reminds me how far my reality is from what I imagined for myself. Sometimes, I fantasize about hitting a reset button. About finding a job that pays more, or an opportunity to move somewhere cheaper. But those options seem so far away, like distant stars I might never reach. I postpone dreams that once felt urgent, buying my own home, starting a family, even simple things like upgrading my laptop or saving for a hobby. Those future me plans feel like luxury items now, things for people with more financial breathing room. Still, I hold on to hope. It's fragile, but it's there. I remind myself that this phase isn't forever, even if it feels like it will never end. I try to celebrate small wins, finally paying off a credit card, getting a small raise, finding a great deal on groceries. These moments feel like proof that I'm moving forward, even if it's at a snail's pace. More than anything, I wish the world understood that financial pressure isn't just about money, it's about mental health, about dignity, about feeling like a participant in society rather than a bystander watching life pass by. I want to tell my younger self, it's okay to struggle. It's okay to ask for help. Your worth isn't measured by your bank account. This isn't just my story, it's the story of so many young people trying to make sense of a world that seems stacked against us. The economic environment might be harsh, but I'm still here, still trying, still dreaming. And maybe that's enough, for now. I never thought I'd feel this way, like I'm stuck in quicksand, sinking deeper every day no matter how hard I struggle to claw my way out. But here I am, 26 years old, living paycheck to paycheck in a world where every dollar seems to slip through my fingers faster than I can earn it. It's not just about being broke, it's about feeling trapped in a system that's moving too fast, pulling the rug out from under me with rising rents, higher bills, and the constant, gnawing pressure to keep up with expenses that grow faster than my income. I remember when I first moved out on my own, right after college. Back then, I had hope. I thought I'd find a job that would pay decently, I'd build a little savings, maybe even have some fun now and then. But reality hit hard. The job market was brutal, and the pay was barely enough to cover rent in a cramped studio, utilities, and groceries. I tried to budget, really tried. I downloaded apps, tracked every dollar, clipped coupons like my life depended on it. But somehow, it never balanced out. The electric bill went up. The grocery prices ticked higher. My phone plan got more expensive. And suddenly, the little emergencies, a broken toaster, a trip to the dentist, turned into massive, scary expenses. Some days, I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, running as fast as I can but never getting anywhere. Like last month, when my car broke down. I had no choice but to use the emergency fund I'd painstakingly built for once in a blue moon things. It was supposed to be my safety net, but now it's almost gone, and I'm back at square one, wondering if I should even bother trying to save again. This constant money anxiety weighs on me every day. I wake up thinking about bills. I lie awake at night, calculating what I can and can't afford. I've had to say no to friends more times than I can count. Birthday dinners, weekend getaways, spontaneous coffee dates, things I used to enjoy feel like luxuries I can't afford. I remember last summer, my best friend asked me to join a trip to the beach. I had to tell her no because even the small cost of gas and a motel room felt like too much. That moment stung, feeling like I was letting people down because I just didn't have the money. Emotionally, it's exhausting. There's a quiet shame in not being able to keep up, in feeling like you're constantly behind while everyone else seems to move forward. Sometimes I wonder if I'm lazy or not trying hard enough. But deep down, I know it's the system, wages that barely budge, inflation that eats away at what little I make, and a cost of living that feels designed to trap people like me in an endless loop of struggle. The emotional toll is real. I find myself withdrawing from people because I don't want to be a downer or explain why I'm turning down invitations again. I avoid talking about money because it makes me feel vulnerable and defeated. And I'm tired of pretending everything's okay when it's not. But I'm not giving up, even if it feels impossible sometimes. I've learned to cope in small ways. I take walks when I'm stressed, which cost nothing but help clear my head. I find comfort in little things, like brewing a cup of tea instead of buying coffee out, or cooking meals from scratch instead of ordering takeout. I've started picking up side gigs, delivering groceries, freelancing online, anything to bring in a bit more cash, even if it means less sleep and more exhaustion. Still, my dreams feel further away than ever. I used to imagine buying a home one day, maybe starting a family, traveling to places I've only seen in pictures. Now, those dreams feel postponed indefinitely, replaced by smaller goals like paying off credit card debt or saving a few $100s for emergencies. It's hard not to feel bitter sometimes, knowing that while I work so hard, the future I want seems to slip farther out of reach. Yet, I hold on to hope. I remind myself that this phase won't last forever. That maybe one day, the economy will shift, wages will rise, and I'll catch a break. Maybe I'll find a job that values my work and pays enough to live comfortably. Maybe I'll be able to build the life I've dreamed of without this constant pressure hanging over me. For now, I take it one day at a time, trying to stay grounded despite the stress. I remind myself I'm not alone, even if it feels that way sometimes. Millions of people are in the same boat, feeling the squeeze and wondering how to breathe under the weight of it all. This isn't just a story about money, it's about survival and resilience. It's about the quiet battle many face in a world that often overlooks the struggles of those who don't have a financial cushion. And maybe, by speaking honestly about it, I can find some peace, and maybe even a little understanding. So here I am, still fighting, still hoping, still trying to make it through another day without letting the weight of it all break me. Because despite the pressure, despite the setbacks, I still believe there's a future worth reaching for, even if it's just one small step at a time. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I wake up every morning with a familiar knot in my stomach, the kind that tightens when you know the bills are due but the money in your bank account feels like a cruel joke. I'm 26, juggling a full-time job and a part-time gig just to keep afloat, but no matter how hard I work, it never feels like enough. The economic environment around me is a relentless tide pulling me under, faster than I can swim. When I graduated college, I thought my life would look different. I pictured a future where I could pay rent without second-guessing, save a little, maybe even take a weekend trip now and then. Instead, every day is about making impossible choices, whether to skip meals so I can pay for transportation, or working late instead of seeing friends because I need the extra cash. The cost of everything is climbing faster than my income, and it feels like I'm trapped in a system designed to keep me running in place. Rent is the biggest thief of my paycheck. It's a figure that looms over me, constant and unforgiving, swallowing half my income every month. Utilities, groceries, healthcare, each expense is a growing mountain I have to climb. Sometimes, when I look at my bank statement, I see a handful of dollars left and feel the panic rise. That small number represents my entire freedom for the week, and it's terrifying. I've learned to cut corners wherever possible. I meal prep on Sundays to avoid eating out, which used to be my little treat. I use public transport instead of owning a car, even though it adds an extra hour to my daily commute. I've stopped buying new clothes, postponed doctor's visits, and ignored the little joys that used to make life feel lighter. These sacrifices add up to survival, but survival isn't living, it's just barely existing. This constant financial pressure weighs heavily on my mental health. Anxiety is a shadow that follows me everywhere. Sometimes, it creeps in before I even open my eyes in the morning. I lie awake at night, running through the endless list of expenses, wondering if I'm making the right decisions. Am I missing something? Could I do more? The stress feels suffocating, like I'm carrying a weight no one else can see. Friends tell me to just budget better or find a higher-paying job, but the truth is, I'm working as much as humanly possible, and opportunities are scarce. There's a crushing feeling of being stuck. Like I'm caught in a loop where expenses grow relentlessly, but my income remains stubbornly stagnant. Inflation steals what little progress I make. Each month, the ground shifts beneath my feet, and I have to scramble to keep from falling behind. It's frustrating and humiliating, a constant reminder that I'm not in control. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. Going back to school for that master's degree I once dreamed about? Too expensive. Saving for a down payment on a house? Impossible right now. Traveling, starting a family, even just treating myself occasionally, all seem like luxuries that belong to someone else's life. It's heartbreaking to watch others move forward while I feel like I'm treading water. Yet, I keep going. Some days are harder than others. On good days, I find small victories, a friend who listens without judgment, a quiet moment to breathe, the satisfaction of getting through a tough week. I try to remind myself that my worth isn't defined by my bank balance. I hold on to the hope that this isn't permanent, that the economic storm will ease and give me room to breathe and dream again. I don't have all the answers, and some days I don't even know if I have the strength. But sharing this story, being honest about the struggle, helps. Maybe someone else feels the same, trapped, exhausted, hopeful but weary. And maybe, by telling the truth about this experience, we can start to break the silence and find a way forward together. This is my reality, a young adult caught in the relentless push and pull of a system where expenses keep growing faster than income, where every day is a negotiation between survival and hope. And even though it's hard, I'm still here, still trying, still dreaming. I never imagined that by the time I hit 27, I'd feel like I'm drowning in a sea of numbers I can't control. It's strange, because growing up, I thought working hard would be enough to get ahead, get a decent job, save a little, maybe buy a place, build a future. But reality hit me like a freight train. Expenses rise, wages crawl, and I'm stuck in this cycle that's impossible to break. The economic environment isn't just some abstract concept, it's the invisible hand tightening around my neck every single day. I wake up every morning with the same knot in my stomach. I don't just worry about money, I feel haunted by it. It's there when I check my bank balance and realize how close I am to overdraft. It's there when I open the mail and see bills I have to pay, wondering if I'll have enough left over for food or gas. And it's there in every little choice I make, reminding me that every dollar counts, and sometimes that feels like every dollar is already spoken for. The rent here keeps creeping up, faster than any raise I get. It's not just rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, everything feels like it's on a relentless incline. I hear people talk about inflation, but for me, it's a daily reality that hits hard. The price of eggs, milk, even a loaf of bread seems to climb every few weeks. Yet my paycheck feels like it barely moves. I'm working more hours than I ever thought I would after college, juggling 2 jobs sometimes, but I can't seem to get ahead. I'm running just to stay in place, and that's exhausting. I've gotten so used to making tough choices. Do I fix my car this month, or do I pay for a doctor's appointment? Can I afford to send a birthday card to my sister, or do I skip it again? When friends invite me out, I hesitate, not because I don't want to be with them, but because I can't afford the coffee, the meal, the gas to get there. The fear of falling further behind makes me say no more often than I want. It's lonely, and sometimes I wonder if people notice I'm withdrawing, or if they think I just don't care anymore. There are days when the pressure feels unbearable. I lie awake at night, heart racing, thinking about what happens if an emergency comes up, a broken appliance, a surprise medical bill. I feel like I'm walking on a tightrope without a net. The stress eats away at my confidence and self-worth. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing, even though I'm doing everything I can. The system feels rigged, designed to keep people like me just scraping by. I've had to postpone so many dreams. I wanted to travel, to see new places, to learn about the world beyond my neighborhood. But that's on hold. Buying a home? It feels like a joke. I still live in a tiny apartment with peeling paint and a leaky faucet, telling myself it's temporary even though I've been here for years. I wanted to go back to school, to earn a higher degree, but the cost and time just aren't feasible right now. Every dream feels like a luxury I can't afford. Despite it all, I keep going. I track my spending obsessively, searching for any way to save a few bucks. I cook meals from scratch, batch cook to avoid waste, and cut out all non-essential spending. I take on side gigs when I can, even if it means less sleep or missing out on rest. Sometimes I reach out to friends for support, and I'm lucky to have a few people who understand and don't judge me for saying no. But mostly, I try to hold on to hope. I hope for a day when I can breathe freely without money always pressing on me. A day when I'm not constantly choosing between bills and basic needs. When I can finally plan for the future without fear or doubt. I'm scared that future feels distant, but I still believe in it. Maybe it's naive, but it's what keeps me moving forward. This story isn't unique, I know many others feel the same way. But it's my reality. Living with financial pressure isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about the emotional weight, the stress that follows you home, the dreams that have to wait. It's about trying to stay hopeful in a system that makes hope feel like a scarce resource. I'm tired, yes. But I'm still here. And I'm still trying to find a way through. I never thought I'd feel this way in my 20s. Growing up, I imagined a different life, one where I'd have some breathing room, a little freedom to enjoy things without counting every penny like it was a precious secret. But here I am, caught in this relentless loop where money feels like a distant dream, always just out of reach, no matter how hard I work. The economic environment we live in doesn't just shape my bank account, it shapes my entire existence. Every day feels like a balancing act on a thin wire stretched tight between mounting expenses and barely rising income. It's exhausting. And honestly, it's lonely too, even though I'm surrounded by people who seem to have it all figured out. My mornings start with a familiar dread. I wake up knowing that as soon as I open my eyes, I'll be thinking about bills, rent, groceries, and how I'm going to stretch whatever's left in my account until the next paycheck. There's a cold, heavy weight that settles in my chest, like sinking in quicksand where every movement is met with more resistance. It's this constant pressure that never lets up. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the anxiety, the helplessness, and the shame that come with not being able to keep up. Rent has been eating up more and more of my income, like a growing beast that no matter how much I feed, just demands more. Utilities, internet, cell phone, transportation, all those essentials that I used to take for granted now feel like obstacles. Food costs keep climbing, and eating out or even ordering delivery has become a rare, almost forbidden luxury. I cook at home, meticulously planning meals to avoid waste and make the most out of every ingredient. Sometimes, I feel like I'm more focused on survival than living. The job I have pays just enough to keep the lights on and the fridge stocked, but nothing more. No savings, no safety net, no extras. I'm trapped in a cycle of working overtime when it's available, only to feel even more drained and disconnected from myself. My health suffers because stress is constant, and I can't afford to see a therapist regularly, even though I know it would help. The isolation grows quietly. How do you explain to friends that you can't join outings because it's not financially feasible, that the idea of any kind of fun outside your small apartment feels out of reach? There was a time when I dreamed freely. I imagined traveling, maybe going back to school for something I was passionate about, even starting a small business or a side hustle that felt like a creative outlet. I pictured evenings where I could relax without counting the minutes until my phone buzzed with a reminder about an overdue payment. But those dreams have been shelved, collecting dust in the corner of my mind, pushed aside by the harsh reality that immediate needs take precedence over hopes. Sometimes I wonder if this is how it's supposed to be, if this constant grind is the new normal for people my age. The headlines talk about inflation, job markets, and economic downturns, but those words feel distant, abstract, like something happening to someone else. For me, it's personal. It's the ache in my stomach when the paycheck hits and disappears within days. It's the frustration of trying to save a few dollars only to have an unexpected car repair or medical bill knock me down again. Coping is complicated. I've learned to live with less, to find small pockets of joy where I can. A walk in the park, a second-hand book, a conversation with a friend who understands without judgment. I hold on to those moments tightly because they remind me that there's still light, even when the shadows feel overwhelming. I journal sometimes, writing down my fears and hopes, trying to untangle the knots in my mind. I wish I could say I'm optimistic all the time, but some days it's hard to see beyond the immediate struggle. Yet, somewhere deep down, a part of me refuses to give up. I hold on to the hope that things will get better, not just for me, but for everyone caught in this squeeze. I dream of a day when I can look back and say, I made it through. Maybe I'll even be able to travel again, go back to school, or take a risk without the constant fear of financial collapse. For now, I keep moving forward in the small ways I can. I remind myself that I'm more than my bank balance, more than my debts and bills. I'm human, and I deserve to dream, to hope, and to find happiness, even if it comes in small, quiet moments. This is my reality, raw and unfiltered. It's not glamorous, and it's not easy. But it's mine, and I'm still here, still fighting, still hoping. That has to count for something. I never imagined I'd be writing about money like this, not in my 20s. Growing up, I thought that if I worked hard, went to school, and landed a steady job, things would fall into place. But here I am, juggling bills, rent, and groceries, feeling like I'm stuck in this endless loop where no matter how much I try, I just can't get ahead. It's exhausting, and some days it feels like the walls are closing in. Every morning, the first thought that hits me before I even open my eyes is, how am I going to make it through the month? I check my bank app before I get out of bed, hoping to see a balance that won't make me panic. It rarely does. That sinking feeling hits my stomach like a stone, knowing that rent is due in a week and I still have to buy groceries and pay for utilities. Those are just the basics, the essentials. Everything else? Forget it. The economy feels like this beast that's constantly growing, swallowing everything in sight, but my paycheck barely keeps up. My income has been steady for 2 years, but everything else, the rent, the gas, the food, the insurance, it keeps climbing. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up, but my legs just don't have the strength to keep pace. And the more I try to run faster, the more exhausted I get. I live paycheck to paycheck. But it's not like it was before when a paycheck could at least cover a bit of saving or even something fun. Now, fun is a luxury I can't afford. My phone screen lights up with messages from friends inviting me out. I want to say yes, I really do, but then I think about the cost of a drink, the gas for my car, the time off work. I say no. Over and over again. I don't want them to think I'm a downer or that I don't care. It's just that money is tight, and I have to be careful, or else I'll spiral into debt. Debt is a scary word, and yet it's so close to me, almost like a shadow. I have a small credit card balance, not huge, but enough to remind me that if I slip up, it could get worse fast. I keep it in check by not using it, but sometimes emergencies happen, like when my car broke down last month, and suddenly I was staring at a $600 repair bill. I had to borrow from my parents, which I hate doing because I want to be independent. It felt like a setback, and it still stings. The weight of all this pressure wears on me every single day. It's not just the money, it's the anxiety, the constant worry that I'm not doing enough, that I'm failing myself and maybe even my family. I catch myself snapping at little things, a forgotten receipt, a late payment reminder email. I'm ashamed of how short-tempered I've become. I don't want to feel this way, but I don't know how to stop it. Sometimes I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the future. What will it look like? Will I ever own a home? Will I have enough saved to start a family someday? Or will I always be stuck like this, fighting just to keep my head above water? These questions don't have easy answers. I want to believe things will get better, but the numbers don't lie. I've had to postpone so many dreams. I used to want to travel, to see the world, meet new people, learn new things. That dream feels like a luxury now, something only other people get to do. I put off going back to school, too, because the idea of taking on more debt terrifies me. I want to improve my skills, maybe get a better job, but the cost and risk feel overwhelming. Even social things have become calculations in my head. Can I afford dinner out, or is it safer to just cook at home? Should I buy that new jacket or save for the heating bill? The small decisions pile up, and each one chips away at my energy and optimism. Sometimes I wonder if this is what being an adult is supposed to feel like: constant stress, constant sacrifice, no room to breathe. But amidst all this, I try to hold on to hope. I remind myself that I'm not alone. So many people my age are going through the same thing, and that connection gives me a little strength. I look for small victories: a month where I don't miss a payment, or a week when I manage to set aside a tiny amount in savings. Those moments feel like sunlight breaking through the clouds. I also try to find ways to cope. I've started journaling, which helps me get all the worries out of my head. I practice breathing exercises when the anxiety feels too much. I reach out to friends, even if it's just for a quick text or a call. I've realized that silence and isolation only make the pressure worse. Still, it's hard not to feel trapped. Like the system is designed in a way that the cost of living always outpaces what I make. I want to break free from this cycle, but it's unclear how. Every day feels like a balancing act on a tightrope, with no safety net below. In the quiet moments, I allow myself to dream. I imagine a day when I'm not counting pennies, when I can take a vacation without guilt, when I can invest in my future without fear. I imagine a life where I can say yes to things without immediately calculating the cost. I don't know when or if that day will come, but I hold on to the hope that it might. For now, I take it one day at a time, trying to find peace in the small things: a warm cup of coffee, a good book, a laugh with a friend. I remind myself that this struggle doesn't define me, even if it feels overwhelming. So here I am, telling my story honestly because maybe, just maybe, someone else out there feels the same way. Maybe we can find a little comfort in knowing we're not alone in this. The economic pressure is real, and it's heavy, but so is the resilience we carry inside. One day, I hope to look back and see that this tough season was just that, a season. Not the whole story. Until then, I keep moving forward, step by step, hoping that the future holds something better. I wake up every morning feeling like I'm running a race I'll never finish. The alarm clock blares at 6:30 a.m., and even before I open my eyes fully, the weight of everything pressing down on me is already there, like an invisible hand squeezing tight around my chest. I lie still for a moment, just to catch my breath, because the truth is, some days it feels like there's no escape. Not from the bills, not from the rent, not from the constant worry that no matter how hard I work, I'll never get ahead. I'm 27, but financially, I feel decades older. My paycheck, which once felt enough to cover basic living, now stretches thinner every month. The rent on my small apartment has crept up again. Last year, it was barely manageable, but this year it's just out of reach. The grocery bills, the gas for my car, the electricity, my phone plan, they all grow bit by bit. Inflation isn't just a news headline, it's the cold reality of my everyday life. And yet, my income has barely budged in years. I've asked for raises, taken on side gigs, but somehow, it's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole at the bottom. The strangest part is how isolating it feels. I scroll through social media, watching friends post about vacations, new apartments, even small luxuries like eating out or buying new clothes. It hits me in waves: jealousy, sadness, frustration, but mostly exhaustion. Because I'm not just struggling with money, I'm battling the feeling that I'm failing at life. At least, that's how it looks from the outside. Some days, I don't even know where to begin. Do I pay the water bill or refill the gas tank? Do I eat out less so I can stock up on groceries? Do I skip my medication to save a few dollars? These aren't hypothetical questions for me, they're real decisions I face weekly. And every choice feels like a compromise, a sacrifice of my dignity and well-being. There's no magical moment when the struggle started. It crept up slowly. I graduated college with hope and a degree, thinking I had a solid foundation. But finding a well-paying job took time. I landed a position that paid just enough to cover the essentials, but with the economy shifting, cost of living rising, and job security shaky, it's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up without warning. Every month, my expenses climb just a little higher, but my paycheck stays stubbornly the same. I often feel trapped in this cycle, like I'm caught in a system designed to keep me just one step behind. Every time I think I might catch up, some new expense pops up, a medical bill, a car repair, an unexpected fee, and suddenly I'm buried again. It's exhausting. I find myself waking up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how to stretch my last few dollars until payday. Sometimes the anxiety is so sharp it feels physical. Despite all this, I try to find moments of peace. I've gotten creative with budgeting, meal prepping, discount shopping, cutting out subscriptions that aren't essential. I talk openly with my close friends about money, even though it's uncomfortable. It helps a little to know I'm not alone. But I also keep my worries hidden from my family. I don't want them to worry, or worse, think I'm failing. There's pride wrapped up in all this, even when it feels foolish. I've had to postpone so many dreams. Traveling, further education, saving for a home, even starting a family, all these things feel distant, like they belong to a different life. I tell myself it's temporary, that if I keep working, keep saving, I'll get there eventually. But deep down, I wonder if that's true, or if the system just keeps moving the finish line further away. Sometimes, I imagine what it would feel like to breathe freely again, to not have to count every penny, to say yes to opportunities instead of no. I think about what I'd do if I suddenly had extra money, maybe take a trip to clear my head, or buy a new laptop so I can learn new skills. Maybe even just a night out with friends without stressing over the bill. These small things feel like luxuries now. At my lowest moments, I wrestle with feelings of shame and inadequacy. I wonder if I'm just not trying hard enough, if I'm failing somehow. But then I remind myself that millions of people are in the same boat, trapped by economic forces bigger than us, struggling against a tide that's hard to turn back. It's a lonely fight, but it's not mine alone. I hold on to hope in small ways. I remind myself that this struggle is temporary, even if it feels permanent. That maybe the next job interview will lead to something better. That the world might shift in a way that lets people like me breathe easier. And that in the meantime, surviving is its own kind of victory. Living under this constant pressure has changed me. I've grown more resourceful, more cautious, but also more vulnerable. It's hard to stay optimistic when everything around you seems designed to keep you down. But I try. I keep pushing forward, step by step, even when it's painful. This is my reality, a young adult caught in the endless grind, feeling trapped by rising costs and stagnant income, carrying the weight of postponed dreams and silent worries. But it's also a story of resilience, quiet strength, and the stubborn hope that someday, maybe, things will get better. I never thought I'd feel so small in the middle of my own life. I'm 27 now, working full-time, and yet it feels like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up every day while my legs just can't keep pace. The money I make, what should be enough to live with some dignity, somehow disappears before I even blink. Rent, bills, groceries, student loans, the occasional emergency that feels like it's thrown at me just to remind me I'm not in control, everything piles up and grows faster than I can earn. It's exhausting, and honestly, some days it's crushing. When I wake up, the first thing I think about isn't my to-do list or even how I'll get through the workday. It's, how am I going to make everything stretch this month? That question hangs in the air all day long, like a heavy cloud I can't shake off. It's strange because I know there are millions of people in the same boat, but it still feels painfully isolating. The system is so big, so unyielding, it feels like it's designed to keep people like me from moving forward. I live in a tiny studio apartment that barely fits my bed and a makeshift kitchen. When I first moved out on my own, I was proud. I imagined this space as a stepping stone towards something bigger, maybe a nicer place, a better job, more freedom. But now? It just feels like a cage. The rent here takes almost half my paycheck, and everything else, utilities, food, transportation, feels like it's constantly creeping higher. Inflation is a word I hear tossed around, but it's real, and it's relentless. Every week I notice prices nudging up, and I know I have to tighten my belt a little more. I've had to make choices I never thought I'd face so early in my life. Cutting back on healthcare, Because every dollar counts, even when I know ignoring a cold or a minor injury could mean bigger problems later. Saying no to going out with friends because $20 feels like a luxury. Canceling a subscription that gave me a small joy, music, books, a streaming service, because it's non-essential. And yet, despite all this, the anxiety of money never leaves. It's a quiet panic that lurks in the background, especially when unexpected expenses come up. Like last month, my laptop broke, and I had no savings to fix or replace it. I had to borrow from a credit card, knowing that interest would just bury me further. I often feel stuck between two impossible choices: work harder or live with less. But working more hours means less time to rest or take care of myself, and sometimes it's just not feasible. So I keep trying to do more with less. I clip coupons, I meal prep with the cheapest ingredients, I track every penny in a spreadsheet that's more exhausting than freeing. I watch videos about budgeting and side hustles, trying to convince myself I'm not alone and that there's a way out. But the truth is, the system seems rigged. Wages don't keep up, prices never stop rising, and the cost of living in this city feels like a mountain I'll never climb. It's not just about money, though. This constant pressure seeps into my emotional well-being. I find myself more irritable, withdrawn, sometimes even hopeless. The little things that used to bring me joy, reading, hiking, spontaneous coffee with friends, feel like distant dreams. When I'm tired and stressed, it's hard to remember what I'm working toward. I've had to postpone so many dreams: traveling to see my family overseas, going back to school to finish a degree I started years ago, even saving up for a deposit on a real place to call home. It feels like I'm just surviving instead of living. Sometimes I catch myself daydreaming, even though I know it's dangerous. I imagine a life where I'm not constantly counting cents, where I can afford to say yes to experiences without guilt, where I'm not haunted by that growing, heavy sense of what if. What if I could invest in my health without fear? What if I could start a side project, or take a class that actually excites me? What if I could finally breathe? But then reality snaps back. I remind myself that dreams need stability, and stability feels so far away. I'm trying to be patient with myself, to hold on to hope, but it's tough. Some nights, I just lie awake thinking about how long this is going to last, how many more times I'll have to sacrifice before things change. I do have small victories, though. The day I managed to pay off a small credit card balance felt like winning a battle. The weeks when I stuck to my budget and still had a little extra left felt like a breakthrough. I keep a journal, not just to track expenses, but to remind myself of what I'm capable of, and why I'm fighting this fight. Sometimes I reach out to friends and family, and their support reminds me I'm not invisible, even when it feels that way. I know this story isn't unique. So many people my age are caught in this same cycle of rising expenses and stagnant wages. But sharing it, being honest about the strain and the fear, feels like a small rebellion against the silence. I want to believe that one day, the system will shift, or I'll find a way to break free from it. Until then, I keep moving forward, day by day, trying to find meaning in the struggle and to hold on to hope for a future where financial pressure doesn't define my life. Because even when everything feels trapped and tight, the tiniest spark of hope is still worth protecting. It's the only thing that keeps me going. I never thought I'd feel this way at 27. Like I'm constantly running on a treadmill that's speeding up, but my legs just can't keep pace. Every day, I wake up knowing the bills are there, waiting. Rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, car insurance, it all stacks up like this giant, invisible mountain that grows taller every month, no matter how hard I try to chip away at it. It's this relentless pressure, this weight pressing down on me that's hard to describe unless you're living it. When I was younger, I had dreams, big ones. I imagined finishing grad school, traveling to new places, maybe even starting a business. I wanted to feel that freedom that people talk about in stories, the kind where you can take a spontaneous trip or invest in yourself without a second thought. But here I am, and the reality is so different. The economy is like a storm that never ends. Prices go up, wages barely move, and somehow the cost of just existing keeps skyrocketing. It's exhausting. I work full-time and I'm grateful for that. But the paycheck I bring home barely stretches. Every month, I budget down to the last cent, and even then, it feels like a losing game. When the rent goes up again or the utility bill doubles because of the heat wave, I'm forced to cut back somewhere else: groceries, social life, self-care. I can't afford to be sick or to take a day off. Even the thought of a night out feels like a luxury I can't justify. I used to meet friends for dinner or a movie, but now, those moments are rare and always tinged with guilt, like I'm spending money that should be saved or put toward debt. The strangest part is the emotional toll it takes. There's a constant background hum of anxiety, a feeling that you're always behind, even when you're working your hardest. It's like drowning, but just under the surface, you keep kicking and splashing, but you don't break free. I'm often too tired to do much after work, and when I am awake, I'm thinking about the next payment or how to stretch my food for the week. Sleep doesn't come easy because my mind races with what-if scenarios. What if my car breaks down? What if I lose my job? What if an unexpected expense wipes out my little savings? I've had to postpone so many things I once thought essential to a good life. Buying a home? Forget it. That seems like a fantasy for people who aren't stuck in this cycle. Having kids? I don't know if I ever want to bring a child into this financial mess. Even little things like upgrading my phone or buying clothes without checking sale racks first feel out of reach. I've learned to survive on second-hand, discount stores, and coupons. And honestly, it feels like I'm sacrificing my dignity just to get by. Coping with all this isn't easy. Some days, I escape by binge-watching shows or listening to podcasts that make me forget reality for a bit. Other times, I write in a journal or talk to friends online, but I hide a lot of this because I don't want to be a burden or seem like I'm complaining. I feel isolated in this, even though I know so many people are in the same boat. There's a shame that comes with not being successful or comfortable in a society that equates money with worth. Yet, despite it all, I hold on to hope. Maybe it's naive, but I believe things can change. I dream of a future where I can breathe freely without counting every dollar. I want to travel, to learn new skills, to help my family, and maybe one day, to feel proud of where I am, not just relieved that I'm not sinking further. I know it won't be quick or easy. The system feels rigged against people like me, but I'm still here, still fighting in my own quiet way. If there's one thing this experience has taught me, it's resilience. Even when the world feels like it's pushing me down, I find little sparks of strength. It's in the small victories: paying off a bill, finding a deal, getting through the day without breaking. I'm learning to be kinder to myself and to acknowledge that surviving in this economic climate is a form of bravery. So, here I am, speaking honestly about a struggle that isn't glamorous or often spoken about openly. The financial pressure isn't just about numbers, it's about how it shapes every choice, every feeling, every dream deferred. I hope sharing this helps someone else feel less alone. Because even when it feels like the system is designed to keep us trapped, our stories and our resilience matter. We deserve better. We deserve to live, not just survive. And maybe someday, we will. Some days, it feels like I'm just treading water in an ocean that's always rising faster than I can swim. I wake up, look at my phone, and see my bank balance staring back at me like a grim reminder that every cent I have somehow manages to shrink before the month even properly begins. It's not just the numbers, it's the feeling of being trapped, stuck in a cycle where expenses grow, my income doesn't keep pace, and I'm left scrambling for whatever air I can find. I'm 27, working a steady job in marketing, a role I once thought was my ticket out of this constant financial stress. But the reality is harsher. Rent has gone up 3 times since I moved into this tiny apartment, and it's eating up more than half my paycheck now. Utilities spike every winter. The grocery bill feels like it doubles overnight. My car, which I bought used to save money, constantly needs repairs I can barely afford. Even the smallest unexpected expense, a medical copay, a broken phone screen, throws my whole month off balance. It's hard not to feel like I'm failing, even though I'm working full-time, sometimes overtime, and still doing the responsible thing by saving a little here and there. But saving feels like an impossible dream when I'm just trying to keep the lights on and food in the fridge. It's like this invisible hand pushing me deeper into a hole I can't climb out of. I've had to say no to so many things: birthdays, dinners out, vacations I dreamed about. The simple joy of buying a new book or a coffee from a cafe feels extravagant now. Sometimes I think about the future, and it terrifies me. Will I ever be able to buy a home? Pay off student loans that loom like a shadow over every decision? Build any kind of emergency fund? Or will I always be one missed paycheck away from disaster? It's a constant knot in my stomach. The idea of getting ahead feels like a cruel joke when I'm just trying not to fall behind. My friends talk about investing or side hustles, but honestly, I'm exhausted. After a full day at work, the last thing I want is to spend evenings hustling in gig economy jobs just to make ends meet. I'm tired in ways I didn't expect, mentally, physically, emotionally. I worry about burnout but can't afford to slow down. It's a relentless grind with no clear finish line. The stress affects everything. I find myself more anxious, less patient, often feeling isolated even when I'm surrounded by people. There's this shame in not having enough, in always having to ask, or worse, cancel plans because money's tight again. Sometimes I avoid calls or messages because I don't want to explain why I can't join or why I'm stretched thin. It's lonely in a way that money can't fix. I try to cope by finding little pockets of joy that don't cost much: early morning walks before the city wakes up, reading books from the library, cooking meals from scratch even if I'm too tired. These small things feel like lifelines, a reminder that I'm still me beneath all the stress. But there's a persistent weight that I can't shake off, like I'm living in a loop that keeps getting tighter. I remember my dreams before all this pressure piled on: traveling the world, maybe studying abroad for a year, having the freedom to explore creative projects without worrying about a paycheck every week. Those dreams feel distant now, like they belong to someone else's life. I've had to shelve ideas, put off learning new skills, delay plans for graduate school. The constant not now wears on me. Despite all this, I hold on to a flicker of hope. I remind myself that this isn't forever, that maybe one day the economy will shift, maybe I'll find a better job, maybe I'll stumble into an opportunity that changes everything. I try to be kind to myself, even when I'm frustrated or down. Because the truth is, I'm doing my best in a system that seems designed to keep people like me struggling. It's honest and raw to admit this, but I want others to know they're not alone. There's dignity in survival, even when it feels like a battle you're losing. I'm tired, I'm scared, but I'm still here, still trying. And maybe that's enough for now. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.